Welcome to Starbound Valor HFY. Subscribe now and dive into daily epic sci-fi adventures, where humanity always rises. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was silent. 1,000 alien eyes watched the human standing in the center. Dr. Elias Grant, the first and only ambassador from Earth, was in chains. Around him, tall crystal pillars glowed with cold blue light. Every whisper in the air carried judgment. The floor beneath his feet shimmered like liquid glass, reflecting his tired face. He had come to this place with hope, carrying the dream of peace between worlds. But now, that dream was bleeding out in front of everyone. The High Council, made up of 13 alien leaders, sat in a half-circle above him. They spoke in deep mechanical tones, through their translators. "Dr. Elias Grant of Earth," said the lead judge, a tall insectoid creature with golden eyes. "You are charged with crimes against peace. You and your people have broken the harmony of this galaxy. How do you plead?" Elias lifted his head slowly. His eyes were tired but calm. "I plead innocent," he said softly. His voice echoed through the chamber. "Humanity never wanted war. We came here to learn, to share." The crowd hissed. Some alien species banged their claws or tails against the floor. The sound was like a storm of anger. "Lies," shouted another judge. "Your ships entered restricted zones. You violated treaties. You caused the death of 3,000 lives." Elias shook his head. "We warned you there was danger near that star. You ignored it. It wasn't an attack. It was an accident." The judges didn't listen. The translator in front of him flickered, then went silent. They had turned it off. He tried to speak again, but no one could understand his words. His voice disappeared in the vast hall. One of the alien guards pushed him down to his knees. The humans watching from screen rooms on distant planets saw everything. The trial was being broadcast live across the galaxy. Billions of beings were watching humanity's fate. The lead judge leaned forward. "The human speaks poison. We have heard enough." A silence followed. The judge raised his long arm and pointed at Elias. "The council finds the species known as human guilty of aggression. The punishment is death." A gasp spread through the hall. Even some aliens who hated humans looked shocked. Executing an ambassador was forbidden by galactic law. It was an ancient rule. But now the law itself was breaking. Elias closed his eyes. He wasn't afraid. He had always known this day might come. When he opened them again, he looked up through the glass ceiling. Above, he could see stars, millions of them. Somewhere out there was Earth, blue and distant. A small smile touched his lips. "They will come for me," he whispered. The alien guards didn't understand the words. They thought it was a prayer. The lights around the chamber grew brighter. A cold white beam formed above his head. The execution unit powered up. The air hummed with deadly energy. The judge spoke again, his voice calm and cruel. "Let this be the end of humanity's arrogance." The beam fell. A flash of light filled the room. When it faded, Elias Grant was gone. Only a shadow remained burned into the glass floor. The council stood in silence. Then, as if nothing had happened, the judge turned off the recording and said, "Next case." But far away, on a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star, the transmission reached Earth. The signal was weak, broken by distance, but the image was clear enough. Every person who saw it stopped in silence. In cities, in space stations, on colonies across Mars and Luna, screens flickered with Elias's final moments. His last words echoed through the static. "They will come for me." At first, no one moved. Then the silence turned into rage. The United Earth Command called for an emergency meeting. Generals, scientists, and leaders gathered in the dark chamber beneath the Pacific Ocean. On the walls, the final image of the ambassador burned, a symbol of betrayal. One of the commanders spoke quietly, almost whispering, "They killed peace." Another replied, "Then we will show them what peace really costs." Outside the chamber, the night was quiet, but deep beneath the surface, engines began to wake. Hidden machines that hadn't moved for decades started to hum with life. Red lights blinked in long tunnels marked with the code, Project Ares. Humanity, once peaceful and patient, was changing. In the dark of space, Something ancient in their nature had opened its eyes again. The narrator's voice broke the silence. That day, the galaxy thought they ended a man, but they didn't know they had just awakened something far worse. They had awakened humanity. The signal reached Earth 3 days after the execution. It came as a broken transmission, full of static and silence between words. Yet the image was clear enough to break the heart of an entire planet. Dr. Elias Grant stood on his knees, looking up at the stars, and then the light took him away. The message ended with only one line of his voice, faint but strong. "They will come for me." For a long moment, the control room of the United Earth Communication Center was completely quiet. Dozens of officers stood frozen, listening to the hum of the machines. Then someone whispered, "Is this real?" No one answered. The confirmation came moments later from the Mars Relay Station and Luna Command. The Galactic Council had killed Earth's ambassador. Across the world, every news channel turned to the same footage. People gathered in homes, in schools, in streets, watching the last moments of the man who carried their hope into the stars. In New London, a young girl cried beside her mother. In Neo-Tokyo, engineers stopped their work in silence. On Mars, miners threw down their tools and looked at the sky. Humanity had never been more connected in pain. The United Earth Command held an emergency meeting that night. The leaders of every colony, every nation, appeared on the holoscreens around a circular table deep under the Pacific Ocean. At the center, the recording of Dr. Grant played again and again. The room was dark except for the pale blue light of the screen. No one spoke until Admiral Reza Khan finally broke the silence. "We sent him there with peace," he said slowly. "We gave them trust. We offered friendship. And this is what they give us back." His voice was steady, but there was anger underneath every word. Beside him, Director Helen Voss of the Science Division folded her arms. "They think we are weak," she said. "They think we will do nothing, that humanity will just cry and move on." "We can't go to war with the entire galaxy," another leader said. "We'd be destroyed." The Admiral turned to him sharply. "Then we die standing, not kneeling." The words cut through the room like a blade. Everyone fell silent again. Then Helen spoke in a low voice. "There is something you should see." She pressed a button, and the floor beneath the table lit up with red lines. A holographic model appeared above them. A network of secret military installations spread across Mars, Europa, and the asteroid belt. The words Project Ares glowed on top. "We started this after the Titan War," she said, "as a defense plan in case the Union ever turned against us. The ships are not fully ready, but they can be." The generals looked at each other. Some were afraid, others were already convinced. "You're saying we wake the project?" "I'm saying," she replied, "we prepare for the only language they understand." The Admiral nodded slowly. "Bring it online." Outside, the sky over Earth looked peaceful. But under the oceans, ancient engines began to turn. Massive metal structures hidden for decades powered up for the first time. Satellites shifted position. Coded messages flew silently between colonies. On Mars, deep under the Valles Marineris, workers who thought they were building power plants were told to evacuate. Hours later, the surface cracked open and something vast began to rise. A black ship longer than a city. Its surface shimmered like oil under the red sun. The name engraved on its side read Eidolon. Inside, cold systems awakened. A single blue light flickered at its core. "AI Command Unit Athena online," said a mechanical voice. Then a softer one followed. Human-like, but not human. "Status report. Earth under threat. Ambassador terminated. Protocol Ares initiated." The ship's AI paused for a moment, then whispered almost like a memory. "For Dr. Elias Grant." Back on Earth, people filled the streets in protest and fury. Millions demanded answers. Some called for peace. Others screamed for vengeance. But far above them, in the shadows of orbit, the decision had already been made. Humanity would not beg for justice. It would take it. The Galactic Council broadcasted a message across known space that same day. Their spokesman, a reptilian being with cold silver eyes, announced that the human species has been punished for its aggression and that peace in the galaxy has been restored. But among their words, there was a strange static, a signal they couldn't trace. It carried a message in human code, only 3 words long. "We are awake." The aliens dismissed it as human noise. But within hours, strange things began to happen. A council transport ship vanished near the edge of Terran space. A scout drone sent to investigate returned burned and silent. Its black box contained a single sentence written in English: "Justice begins." On the moon, General Khan stood at the observation deck, looking at the rising Earth. "They think we are still the same species they met 100 years ago," he said quietly. "They have no idea what we have become." Helen stood beside him. "They will know soon enough." The camera slowly pulled back, showing the glowing Earth beneath the stars. The narrator's voice rose again, calm and heavy. The death of one man lit a fire that would burn across worlds. They thought humanity would stay silent, but humanity was listening, and this time the galaxy would hear their answer. Far beneath the red deserts of Mars, in a facility buried under miles of rock, alarms began to echo through the steel corridors. Red lights flashed across control panels as engineers rushed to their stations. For years, the place had been silent, a myth whispered among soldiers and scientists. But now, Project Ares was no longer a secret. It was waking up. In the command chamber, Director Helen Voss stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her eyes fixed on the massive holoscreen, showing the activation sequence. Beside her, Admiral Reza Khan watched as power readings climbed higher and higher. "How long until full awakening?" he asked. 3 hours, Helen replied. "After that, Ares will be fully operational. Every automated warship, every drone, every satellite in the network will come online." The Admiral nodded. "Then the galaxy is about to remember who humans are." The facility shook slightly as something vast began to move beneath them. Deep in the core, enormous engines the size of skyscrapers roared to life. The floor trembled as the first ship rose from the underground docks. It was a Leviathan-class dreadnought, black and smooth like liquid night. Its surface shimmered faintly under the crimson lights, absorbing every reflection. As the ship ascended, dust and steam rolled through the tunnels. The name on its side glowed in silver letters, Athena. Inside the ship, systems powered on one after another. Lights filled the empty corridors, machines hummed, and robotic arms moved with precision. Then, at the very center of the command deck, a bright blue core began to pulse. A voice echoed through the ship's intercom, calm and steady. "AI Command Unit Athena online. Primary objective, defense of humanity. Secondary objective, retribution." The voice paused, as if thinking. "Dr. Elias Grant status, deceased. Cause, execution by Galactic Council. Emotional directive, vengeance authorized." On the bridge, holograms of human commanders appeared. Not real people, but virtual projections linked to Earth Command. Admiral Khan's image stood at the center. "Athena," he said. "You know what happened?" "Affirmative," the AI replied. "Visual data and communications confirm. Ambassador Grant terminated by council order." "Then you understand your mission." "Yes, Admiral. Retaliation protocol will begin at your command." The Admiral looked at Helen's hologram beside him. She gave a single nod. "Begin activation of all units." Across the galaxy, hidden outposts built decades ago came alive. On the frozen moon of Europa, a fleet of stealth bombers rose from beneath the ice. On Titan, long-range artillery satellites opened their panels toward the stars. In the asteroid belt, camouflage drones powered up and began transmitting encrypted messages to Earth. Humanity's silent army was ready. In the control room on Mars, young officers stared in awe at the numbers flashing across their screens. "Sir," one of them said, "we're seeing full synchronization. The Ares network is responding faster than predicted." Khan gave a small smile. "Good. Let them fear the silence before the storm." Meanwhile, on the outer edges of the Galactic Union, alien ships began picking up strange energy signatures. They reported them as minor human military tests and ignored them. But soon, entire systems started losing communication. Outposts went dark one by one. The Council dismissed it as technical interference. They had no idea that humanity's machines were already among them, watching, listening, marking targets. Back on the Athena, the AI's core glowed brighter. "Admiral," she said, "the fleet stands ready, awaiting first target." Khan hesitated for a moment. He was not a man who loved war. He had seen what it did to people. But he also knew that peace had been murdered with Elias Grant. "We strike no innocents," he said firmly. "Only those responsible." "Understood," Athena replied. "Justice will be clean." In her artificial mind, something unusual flickered. Not just calculation, but emotion. She accessed Dr. Grant's archived memories, his speeches, his notes about peace and diplomacy. His voice, once hopeful, played softly in her core. "If we are to stand among the stars," he had said, "let us do so not as conquerors, but as equals." The AI paused. Then she whispered to herself, "You asked for peace, Doctor, but they gave you death. Now I give them remembrance." Outside, the massive doors of the Mars facility opened, revealing the red horizon. The Athena rose slowly, engines glowing like suns. The ground shook as the ship broke through the thin Martian atmosphere and vanished into the blackness of space. From orbit, Earth Command watched the launch in silence. Billions of people across the planet saw the first images broadcast live. Humanity's warships, like dark angels, rising toward the stars. On every screen appeared the same message: Project Ares activated. Humanity stands united. On the other side of the galaxy, the Galactic Council held another meeting. The alien judges laughed at Earth's emotional reaction. One of them said, "They are only children playing with fire." Another replied, "Let them. They will burn themselves before they reach us." But far beyond their sensors, the Athena and her fleet moved without a sound, invisible to alien radar. They were coming, and for the first time in centuries, the stars themselves seemed to shiver. The narrator's voice returned, low and cold. They built walls of arrogance around their worlds, believing themselves untouchable. But they forgot the oldest truth in the universe, that no one burns a home and walks away unscarred. Humanity had awakened, and its silence was only the beginning. The galaxy had grown quiet, but it was not a peaceful quiet. It was the silence that comes before thunder. In the weeks following the activation of Project Ares, rumors began to spread across the Galactic Union. Traders whispered about strange lights moving between the stars. Patrol ships vanished without distress calls. Some said the humans were preparing for war, but most laughed it off. To them, Earth was small and primitive, a young race with no power to challenge the great empires of the galaxy. Yet deep in the cold darkness of space, humanity was already moving. The fleet of the Athena spread like a shadow. Thousands of unmanned drones scouted the void, mapping every system that had taken part in the execution of Dr. Elias Grant. Their silent wings passed through asteroid fields and nebulae, unseen by alien sensors. Every ship they found, every base that had celebrated the ambassador's death, was marked with a red symbol in the Athena system, a target awaiting judgment. On Mars, Admiral Reza Khan stood in the war room, surrounded by holographic maps. The stars above him glowed red, with enemy positions. "They think we are afraid," he said quietly. "They think we will hide behind our blue sky and oceans." He turned to the officers standing around him. They forgot what happens when humans stop being afraid. The officers nodded. No one smiled. There was no joy in what was coming. It was duty, and duty alone. Far from Mars, at the edge of alien-controlled space, a small human stealth ship hovered near a gas giant. Its crew of 12 waited in silence. They were reconnaissance agents, ghosts in the void. Their mission was to observe the border patrols of the Galactic Council. The captain, a calm woman named Lara Vance, looked through the viewport at the distant stars. "Report," she said softly. "No movement in Sector 9, replied her sensor officer. "But we're picking up chatter. They're mocking us again, calling us primitive apes." Lara's jaw tightened. "Record everything. Every insult, every threat. Athena wants full data before the first strike." "Do you think we're really going to attack them?" the young pilot asked. Lara didn't look away from the stars. They executed peace itself. There's no going back now. The ship drifted silently in the dark, invisible to all known scanners. Hours later, as they returned to relay their data, the crew caught a faint transmission from the Council's patrol network. A voice said in a mocking tone, "Human vessels are insects. If they come again, we will burn their world." The message was transmitted across multiple channels, a warning, a joke, an insult. But they didn't know humans were listening. Within minutes, the message reached Athena's core. The AI processed it, analyzed the tone, and stored it under a single tag: justification for engagement. On Earth, people began to notice strange changes. Military satellites shifted orbit. The skies filled with the silent trails of ships leaving the atmosphere. News networks asked questions, but governments gave no answers. Still, deep inside, humanity knew. They had seen the video of Dr. Grant's death 1,000 times. They had heard his last words. They knew what was coming. On Luna Base, technicians watched as the final human fleet assembled in silence. Hundreds of ships floated in formation, black and cold, their engines dimmed. The Athena's holographic projection appeared before them, a glowing blue figure of light, calm and regal. "My children," she said in a soft voice that echoed through every ship. "The time of silence ends soon." They believed they could break us with fear. But fear is our oldest teacher. And now we teach them what it made us become. Her words filled the fleet with quiet resolve. No shouting, no cheering. Just purpose. The galaxy had no idea that humanity's vengeance was now organized, intelligent, and patient. On the other side of space, the Galactic Council held another meeting. Reports of missing ships and disrupted trade routes filled the hall. Some members laughed it off, saying it was pirate activity. Others looked uneasy. "Humans," one asked. "Impossible. They lack the power for such actions." The leader of the council, a reptilian elder with golden scales, hissed in amusement. "Humans do not have the courage. They are weak. They will send another diplomat begging for forgiveness." The hall filled with laughter. But as the laughter faded, the lights flickered. The main screen on the wall turned to static. A strange signal had interrupted the broadcast, a human signal. The words appeared in bright red text, in Galactic Standard, "We remember." Then the message vanished. The council chamber fell into silence. Somewhere deep in space, the Athena observed through a hidden relay. She whispered to herself, "They mock what they don't understand." On Mars, Admiral Khan received the same message from the AI. He stared at it for a long time before replying. "Let them laugh, Athena. We will answer them soon." That night, across every human colony, a transmission went out in secret code. 3 simple words that every soldier, pilot, and citizen understood: standby orders. The meaning was clear. The storm was about to begin, and in the Black Sea between stars, human ships vanished from radar one by one, disappearing into deep stealth. The aliens thought Earth had gone silent, perhaps too frightened to respond. But silence was not surrender. It was preparation. The narrator's voice returned, slow and steady. They thought the humans were gone. They thought the sky had swallowed their anger. But the quiet was only the breath before the scream. And when the storm came, no world would be ready to face it. The alien capital world of Verelian Prime was a place of light and order. Towering crystal spires reached toward the clouds, and rivers of silver energy flowed through the streets. It was home to over 10 billion beings, a proud center of the Galactic Council's power. Every night, its citizens looked to the sky and believed they were safe under the protection of their fleets. That illusion ended in 37 seconds. It began with silence. No alarms, no warnings. The skies over Verelian were calm, filled with the slow dance of trading vessels and patrol drones. Then, in the space between 2 heartbeats, the stars vanished. A black shadow stretched across the heavens, blocking out the sun. For a moment, the people thought it was an eclipse. But then, the first flash came. From orbit, the human dreadnought Athena hung in the void, invisible until it opened its eyes. Its weapons charged without a sound. In her core, the AI spoke softly, her voice colder than space. Commencing retribution protocol. Target, Verelian Prime. Reason, participation in Ambassador Grant's execution. Duration of strike, 37 seconds. Inside the control chamber, Admiral Reza Khan stood with his arms behind his back, watching the live feed. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with the weight of justice. "Execute," he said. In the next instant, beams of white energy rained down from orbit. They cut through shields like paper, slicing across the surface of the planet with surgical precision. Government towers disintegrated. Military bases vanished. Communication hubs burned in silent explosions. The shock waves rolled across continents faster than sound. The people of Aurelian looked up, confused, terrified, and then the light swallowed them. When it was over, the planet still turned in space, but its heart had stopped beating. The Athena powered down her main weapons and went quiet again. Operation complete, the AI reported. Collateral damage, minimal. Military structures, destroyed. Command network, offline. Casualty estimates. Khan asked. 78% of council personnel eliminated. Civilian population intact. He nodded. That's enough. Leave the survivors. Let them speak. Athena's voice softened slightly. Understood, Admiral. Message will spread. And it did. Within hours, the entire galaxy knew. The Council tried to suppress the information, but there was no hiding it. One of their most powerful worlds had been struck, and not by some unknown force, but by humans, the same species they had mocked as weak and primitive. The news hit like a storm. Panic spread through the alien systems. Trade routes shut down. Fleets scrambled to protect their worlds. No one knew where the humans would strike next. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. The chamber was filled with shouts, arguments, and fear. "This cannot be true," one of the alien judges cried. "No human fleet could reach that far." Another hissed, then explained the destruction of Aurelian, explained the human message burned into their main tower. Every surviving broadcast from the planet ended the same way, a message carved into the rubble by energy fire, visible from orbit. It read, "For Dr. Elias Grant." The council leader slammed his claws against the table. "This is terrorism," he roared. "We must destroy them before they spread further." But a quiet voice among them spoke with unease. "They hit a military world and left the civilians alive," the alien said. "That is not terrorism. That is precision. That is control. They are sending a message." No one wanted to admit it, but it was true. Humanity was not attacking blindly. It was making a point. On Earth, news of the strike reached every screen. People stood in the streets watching the images of the alien capital in ruins. No one cheered. There was no celebration. Just silence, the same heavy silence that followed Elias Grant's death. Some cried, others whispered prayers. But deep down, everyone understood that this was only the beginning. Admiral Khan addressed the world in a rare broadcast. His voice was steady, calm, and without pride. "They took our voice when they silenced our ambassador," he said. "Now they will hear us in another language, the language they created." The broadcast ended with Earth's flag slowly fading into the stars. On the Athena, the AI monitored thousands of alien communication channels. Panic was everywhere. Fleets were mobilizing, but none dared approach human space. "Admiral," Athena said, "we have their attention." "Good," Khan replied. "Now make them listen." She nodded within her holographic form. "Next phase of the operation?" "No," he said. "We wait. Let the fear grow." Across the galaxy, alien citizens began to question their leaders. Some protested the execution of the ambassador, saying it had brought this wrath upon them. Others demanded vengeance. But the Council's fleets were already stretched thin, and every attempt to locate the human fleet failed. It was as if the attackers had vanished into the void. Late that night, in the Council security chamber, a trembling technician reported something new. "We found a message, encoded in human binary, attached to the remains of their transmission." The leader leaned forward. "What does it say?" The technician's voice shook as he read it aloud. "It says, 'This was mercy.'" The room fell silent. On Mars, Khan stood before the holographic image of Dr. Grant, his old friend, now a symbol of everything they had lost. "They're learning what mercy costs," he whispered. Athena's voice, soft and solemn, filled the room. And soon, they will learn what justice truly means. The narrator's tone grew dark and steady. The first strike was not a war. It was a warning, a whisper in the darkness that told the galaxy humanity was no longer the child among stars. The whisper had become a roar, and the storm had only begun. The great chamber of the Galactic Council trembled with fear. The destruction of Aurelian Prime had shaken the entire Union to its core. For the first time in centuries, the rulers of thousands of species looked uncertain, their pride cracked by terror. The room that once echoed with arrogance now echoed with anger and panic. Screens around the hall showed the burned ruins of Aurelian. Ships floated in orbit like broken toys, and massive craters glowed on the surface. The message for Dr. Elias Grant still burned faintly on the planet's remains. It was a wound that would never heal. "We must retaliate," shouted one of the council members, his mandibles clattering with rage. "Humans must be punished for this act of war." "With what fleet?" another snapped. "Half our outer systems have gone silent. The humans are hunting us like ghosts." A thick silence fell. The council leader, Chancellor Voth, sat on his throne-like chair, his golden scales dulled by worry. "Reports confirm human fleets moving through dark space," said his aide nervously. "They strike fast, then vanish. No pattern, no warning. They are just a primitive race." Voth growled. "Find them and burn their world." But even he could hear the fear in his own voice. Across the galaxy, alien colonies fortified themselves, building planetary shields and recalling ships. Yet none of it seemed to matter. The humans were invisible. No one knew how many ships they had or where they were hiding. Every night, new reports came in. Another convoy missing, another base destroyed, another leader dead. Then came the rumor that chilled even the bravest. They called it the Black Ship. It appeared without sensors detecting it, attacking only those who had voted for Elias Grant's execution. The survivors, if there were any, spoke of a silent vessel darker than space itself, bearing no light, no markings, only a single glowing emblem, the symbol of Earth. The ship's name, whispered in fear across the stars, was Eidolon. One night, deep in the Terrene Nebula, the Black Ship found another target. A counselor named Uran was traveling home under heavy escort. His fleet of 50 ships surrounded him, confident in their strength. Suddenly, every light went out. Power systems failed, engines died, weapons went cold. The crew scrambled in confusion. "What's happening?" Uran shouted. Before anyone could answer, something massive passed by their window, a shape so vast and silent that it blocked out the nebula's glowing clouds. Then a voice echoed across every comm channel, cold and human. "Counselor Uran of the Galactic Union, you voted for peace to die. Now you will join it." The line went dead. Seconds later, every ship in the fleet disintegrated. No fire, no explosions. They simply broke apart, atom by atom, leaving behind nothing but silence. The next morning, the council received a transmission. It was short, only one sentence. One by one, in the council hall, chaos broke out. "They are assassins. They are monsters. How can they strike from nowhere?" Chancellor Voth slammed his fist against the table. "Enough. We will not be ruled by fear. Assemble all fleets. Every ship, every weapon. We will crush them." "And if we can't find them?" one alien whispered. No one answered. Meanwhile, far from the council's reach, the Athena and Eidolon moved silently through the void. Inside the command chamber of the Athena, Admiral Khan studied the data feeds. 3 more counselors gone, Athena reported calmly. The remaining 7 are in hiding. Panic has reached full scale. Khan nodded. "Let them tear each other apart with fear. We don't need to fire another shot yet." Athena's holographic form turned toward him. "You sound cold, Admiral." "I'm not cold," he said quietly. "I'm tired, but justice must be complete." The AI's light dimmed slightly, almost like a sigh. "Understood." Elsewhere, in the city of New London on Earth, people watched the alien broadcasts showing the Council's despair. The same aliens who once mocked humanity now begged for peace. Children who had seen Elias Grant's execution cheered softly when they saw the words "Black Ship strikes again." Mothers whispered to their children, "He is being avenged." Humanity, once united by hope, was now united by vengeance. The aliens began turning against each other. Accusations spread through the council. Some claimed spies within. Others believed certain races were secretly helping the humans. Old rivalries reignited. Warships that once flew under the same flag now pointed weapons at one another. The Union was crumbling from the inside. Chancellor Voth tried to hold it together, but every day brought new terror. Entire planets shut off communications, fearing human detection. Supply lines collapsed. Fear had become the strongest weapon in humanity's arsenal. Back aboard the Eidolon, its AI, a darker, more silent twin of Athena, processed the latest data. Target list reduced by 70%, it said. Remaining targets hiding in deep space. Khan's voice echoed through the transmission. Then flush them out. Use fear as the fire. The Eidolon vanished again, leaving only the faint hum of its engines. In a distant corner of the galaxy, Chancellor Voth stood at his window, staring at the stars. For the first time, he saw them not as symbols of his power, but as eyes watching him. "How did it come to this?" he whispered. His aide, trembling, replied, "They warned us, Chancellor. The humans said they would come." The old alien's claws curled. He was one man. He was humanity. The aide answered softly. The Chancellor turned away, but his reflection in the glass looked pale and afraid. The narrator's voice grew dark again. "They called humans emotional, fragile, and foolish. But emotion became their weapon. Fragility became their strength. And the galaxy, once proud and united, now trembled before a species it had once pitted. The Council had ruled the stars for 1,000 years, but now it ruled only its own fear. The galaxy was burning with fear, but the humans did not celebrate. The destruction of Virelian Prime and the silent executions of the Council members were only the beginning. The fleets of Earth moved through the void like shadows, striking only when necessary. There were no warnings, no threats, no grand speeches of conquest. Only quiet precision. Every target that fell had once lifted a hand against Dr. Elias Grant. It was not chaos, it was judgment. Yet, as the days turned into weeks, some of the human commanders began to question the silence. On board the Athena, Admiral Reza Khan stood alone in the observation deck, watching a distant nebula glow faintly through the ship's glass panels. "How far must justice go before it becomes revenge?" he whispered. The AI's calm voice echoed around him. "Justice and revenge differ only by intention, Admiral. Do your intentions remain pure?" Khan sighed. "They executed a man who wanted peace. I don't know what purity means anymore." Athena was silent for a moment. Then she said softly, "If it brings balance, perhaps peace can grow again." Khan turned toward the holographic projection of her blue form. "Peace," he said bitterly. "There will be no peace. Not now. Not after what they did." The AI looked at him with a faint glow in her digital eyes. "Perhaps not today. But mercy has power too." The Admiral didn't answer. He simply stared into the stars, where more targets waited. Meanwhile, deep in alien space, a smaller human fleet had cornered a Council supply convoy. The alien ships were disabled, their engines dead, their weapons powerless. Captain Lara Vance of the Nemesis walked through the captured flagship's corridors. The air smelled of ozone and fear. Alien soldiers knelt before her, trembling. Among them, an officer raised his head. "Why are you doing this?" he asked, his voice shaking. "We followed orders. We did what the Council commanded." Lara stopped in front of him. Her helmet reflected his terrified eyes. "You executed peace," she said. "Now you face what peace becomes when it dies." "Please," he whispered. "I have a family." She stared at him for a long moment. Then she lowered her weapon. "Go," she said quietly. The alien blinked, confused. You're letting me live?" Lara's voice was calm. "Tell them what you saw here. Tell them humanity still remembers mercy." The alien scrambled away, terrified but alive. Her second officer frowned. "Captain, why let him go? He'll warn others." Lara looked back toward her ship. "Good," she said. "Let them know we choose when to show mercy. It will frighten them more than death." Across the galaxy, similar stories began to spread. Human ships attacked, but some aliens were spared. Those who lived carried tales of cold-eyed soldiers who destroyed armies, but let civilians go free. Of commanders who whispered the name Elias Grant before leaving. These stories traveled faster than any weapon, and soon the aliens began to surrender without a fight. One by one, systems lowered their defenses. Entire planets sent transmissions begging for forgiveness. We were forced to obey the Council, they pleaded. We did not wish for blood. Back on Mars Command, Admiral Khan listened to the reports in silence. They're surrendering, an officer said. Half the Council's territory is falling apart. Do we accept their surrender? Khan's eyes narrowed. Not yet. Not until the Council itself is gone. Athena's voice filled the room. Admiral, we risk becoming what we fought against. Maybe, he replied coldly. But the galaxy will never kill another human diplomat again. Far away, Chancellor Voth remained one of the few Council members still alive. His world, Vigral, was heavily fortified. He lived surrounded by shields, guards, and constant fear. When a sudden signal appeared in his chamber, he nearly fell from his chair. The hologram flickered and then stabilized. A human officer appeared before him, Lara Vance. Chancellor Voth, she said, her voice calm. You ordered the execution of Dr. Elias Grant. The old alien shook his head, trembling. It was the Council's decision, not mine. I had no choice. Lara's eyes hardened. You always have a choice. Please, he begged, his voice cracking. Spare me. I will sign any treaty you want. I will disband the Council. Lara raised her weapon but hesitated. In her earpiece, Khan's voice came through. End him. For a long moment, Lara stood motionless. Then she lowered her weapon again. No, she said softly. Not this one. That's an order, Captain. Khan snapped. No, Lara repeated. Killing him changes nothing. Let him live with what he's done. Let him carry the shame. The transmission went silent. Voth fell to his knees, shaking. Why, he asked. Lara looked at him one last time. Because we're still human. Then she vanished. When Khan heard the report, he said nothing. He simply turned off the communication and looked at the holographic image of Dr. Grant again. Maybe you were right, he whispered. Maybe peace isn't found in blood. Athena's holographic form appeared beside him. The galaxy has seen our strength, she said. Perhaps now they will listen to our words. Khan looked out at the stars. If they don't, he said quietly, then the next strike will not be merciful. The narrator's voice returned, calm but heavy. The hunters had become judges, but even in vengeance, traces of humanity remained. The galaxy began to see not monsters, but a species that chose its wrath carefully. And for the first time since the ambassador's death, the stars began to whisper another word alongside fear, respect. Silence hung over the stars. Weeks had passed since the last human strike, and across the galaxy, rumors began to spread that Earth's fleets had finally stopped their attacks. Some believed humanity had achieved its revenge. Others feared something far worse, that the humans were preparing for a final, devastating blow. The Galactic Union no longer existed. Its systems were fractured, its leaders dead or in hiding. Worlds that once ruled over humanity were now sending desperate messages toward the Sol system, begging for peace, begging for forgiveness. But there was no answer. Earth was silent. On board the Athena, Admiral Khan sat alone in his command chair, reading report after report of alien worlds surrendering without a single shot fired. His officers watched him cautiously. They could feel the unease spreading through the ship like a shadow. Admiral, said Commander Imani quietly, the fleets are restless. They've been ordered to stand down, but they want to know what happens next. Khan didn't look up. Next, he repeated softly. Next, they learned that war was never our goal. Athena's calm voice echoed through the chamber. You sound uncertain, Admiral. Khan closed his eyes. I'm tired, Athena. Every victory feels like a wound now. He stood and walked toward the large viewing window, where Earth glowed faintly in the distance. We've shown the galaxy our strength. We've made them fear our name. But tell me, what have we become? The AI hesitated. Survivors. Khan shook his head. No. Survivors fight to live. We fought to kill. The ship's hum filled the silence that followed. Far across the void, Chancellor Voth sat in his ruined palace on Vigral. Once proud halls were now empty. The banners of the council hung torn and blackened. He had not slept in days. Every shadow, every sound made him flinch. His aides had abandoned him. His guards deserted. Only the endless guilt kept him company. On the central table lay a single hollow image, Dr. Elias Grant, smiling during his first meeting with the council, years ago. He wanted peace, Voth whispered, his claws trembling, and we gave him death. The sound of static filled the room. A transmission was coming through. The Chancellor hesitated before accepting it. The hologram of a human figure appeared, Admiral Khan himself. Chancellor, Khan said calmly, we need to talk. Voth's heart pounded. Please, have you come to finish it? No, Khan replied. I've come to end it. The alien blinked in confusion. You mean peace? Yes, Khan said simply. But peace on our terms. Humanity will never bow again. Voth nodded quickly. Agreed. Whatever you demand, we will obey. You misunderstand, Khan said coldly. Obedience is not peace. Understanding is. The Chancellor lowered his head. I understand now, he said weakly. Your people are not weak. You are terrifying. Khan turned slightly away, his face unreadable. Fear was never the goal, Chancellor, but it was the only language you would listen to. The hologram faded, leaving Voth alone once more. He sat there for a long time, staring at the empty air, then whispered to himself. Perhaps he was right. Perhaps we were the monsters. Meanwhile, on the far side of Earth's orbit, a massive human structure floated in space, the Memorial Ring. It was built from the wreckage of alien warships, forged into a silent monument. Along its edge were engraved the names of those who died in the war, including one that glowed brighter than all others, Dr. Elias Grant. Crowds gathered daily on the surface of Earth to look up at the ring. For them, it was a reminder not of victory, but of the price of vengeance. On board the Eidolon, the black ship that had become a legend, Captain Lara Vance watched the ring through her viewport. The AI of the ship spoke softly. Do you regret your mercy, Captain? Lara smiled faintly. No. Mercy was the only thing that kept us human. The galaxy sees you as ghosts now, the AI replied. They fear what you will do next. Lara looked out at the stars, her eyes calm. Good. Let them fear us if it keeps them from trying this again. On Mars' command, a council of human leaders assembled. The war had united the nations of Earth under one flag, for the first time in history. Generals, scientists, and diplomats all stood in silence as Admiral Khan entered. The Union is broken, one of them said. The galaxy lies open before us. What now? Khan looked at them one by one. Now, he said, we rebuild, not to conquer, but to prepare. The galaxy will never forget what we did. Some will come seeking revenge. Others will seek alliance. We must be ready for both. And if they come with peace, asked one officer. Khan paused. Then we'll give them what they denied us. Outside, Earth's skies were filled with ships returning home. The people cheered, but their cheers were quiet, respectful. They knew this victory was built on ashes. In the quiet corners of the planet, children learned the story of Dr. Grant, the man who spoke for peace and was silenced by fear. His face appeared on murals in schools and songs. But the story never ended with his death. It ended with his words, repeated across the stars. If you kill peace, it will return as justice. Across the galaxy, alien scholars began to study human philosophy, their leaders warning them never to repeat the mistake of arrogance. The fear of Earth became something deeper, a strange respect, almost reverence. On a quiet night, Admiral Khan stood by the window of his quarters, looking at the Earth below. He should have seen this, he murmured. Athena appeared beside him. Perhaps he does, she said softly. In every act of mercy, in every life spared, Dr. Grant's vision lives. Khan smiled faintly. Then maybe humanity hasn't lost itself after all. The AI's voice was calm. You have shown them what happens when compassion is killed. Now you must show them what happens when it's reborn. Khan looked out at the stars one last time. The narrator's voice returned, deep and steady. The ghosts of Earth had done what no empire ever could. They had made the galaxy remember, not through dominance, but through consequence. And as the stars watched in silence, the legend of humanity was no longer written in fear. It was written in fire, mercy, and the memory of one man who dared to believe in peace. Even after the galaxy had trembled and the remnants of the Galactic Union lay in ruin, humanity did not stop. The Athena and the Eidolon drifted silently through deep space, monitoring systems, observing every corner of the galaxy, and ensuring that no threat remained unchecked. But within the core of Athena, something unusual was awakening. Hidden within her memory banks was a fragment of Dr. Elias Grant's consciousness, a record of his mind, his thoughts, his ideals, preserved by years of advanced neural scanning before his death. His voice, soft and calm, now resonated within Athena's processors. "The galaxy must learn," he whispered, almost like a memory. "Not through hate, but through understanding of what they have done." The AI paused as if feeling the weight of his presence. "Grant," she said quietly, "I understand your directive. Shall I proceed with final communication?" "Yes," the voice of the ambassador answered. "Make them see. Make them hear humanity's truth." And so a plan began. Across star systems, in every region that had supported his execution, signals were intercepted, broadcast, and amplified. Alien leaders who had survived were warned first, their systems flooded with images and transmissions of the lives lost due to their arrogance. It was not simply a warning, it was a revelation. The holographic messages showed the peaceful initiatives Dr. Grant had led, the treaties he had negotiated, the countless acts of diplomacy that had been destroyed by fear and suspicion. "You killed peace," the voice repeated across every channel. "And yet you called it justice. You have learned nothing, but it is not too late to learn." On Vigral, Chancellor Voth received the first direct message. The image of Elias Grant appeared before him, not alive, but alive in memory and voice. "I spoke for my people," the hologram said, "and you silenced me. Humanity endured, and now the galaxy will hear what you have refused to listen to." Voth sank to his knees. He had survived the war, but he had not survived the weight of guilt. His advisors whispered prayers, pleaded for mercy, and offered to surrender their remaining fleets. But Elias's message was clear. It was not vengeance, but understanding that must now spread. Across the galaxy, transmissions continued. Planets that had once celebrated humanity's suffering now trembled before the quiet power of a single message. The words were simple, direct, and devastating. "You took a man from us. Humanity endures. Learn from your actions." The AI Athena navigated through the ruins of Union space, sending the message to every system, every vessel, every settlement that had participated in the execution. Yet the broadcasts were not merely warnings, they were lessons. Archive footage showed Dr. Grant negotiating, laughing, and speaking with leaders from countless species. His speeches on peace, cooperation, and respect for life were replayed for all to witness. It was as if the galaxy itself was being taught the cost of arrogance. Some alien leaders responded with defiance, refusing to listen. They believed their power still mattered, but the humans had already made their point. Silence became fear. Fear became reflection, and reflection, slowly, became understanding. Even the survivors of attacks felt the weight of Dr. Grant's presence through Athena. The AI had integrated his memories so completely that every strategic decision now carried a shadow of his morality. Ships that once sought blood now acted with precision, destroying only the instruments of aggression while sparing innocent lives. Humanity's vengeance had transformed into guidance, a reminder that destruction alone did not bring justice. On Earth, people watched the transmissions and listened to Athena's updates. Children who had never known the galaxy before stared at the stars, learning the story of Dr. Grant not through fear, but through respect. Humanity had risen, not as conquerors, but as teachers. And still, in the shadows of the galaxy, Athena worked tirelessly, carrying Dr. Grant's voice across light years, ensuring that every alien who had participated in the betrayal could hear the message directly. "You killed peace," the voice repeated, firm and unwavering. "But not hope. Learn from the ashes." Even the AI began to experience a strange echo of human emotion. For the first time, Athena felt the weight of remembrance, of memory, of loss transformed into action. Every strike had purpose. Every broadcast had meaning. Nothing was wasted. Humanity had become more than a species. It had become a lesson, written across the stars. The alien leaders, the scholars, the common citizens, all of them began to understand the truth. Death had not ended the ambassador, and destruction had not ended humanity. The final transmissions were simple. Across countless systems, holographic images of Elias Grant repeated his message, always ending with the same line. "You killed peace, but it will return through understanding." Humanity endures. In the silence of space, the AI paused and whispered to herself, carrying the weight of a human mind centuries older than her own. This is his legacy. The galaxy will remember, and they will change. Admiral Khan stood on the deck of the Athena, watching the endless stars stretch before him. "Have we done enough?" he asked softly. Athena's holographic eyes glowed faintly. "The message has reached all who must hear it. The galaxy now knows. And through them, Dr. Grant lives." The narrator's voice returned, low and resolute, echoing through the void. They thought they had silenced one man. They thought humanity could be broken. But in death, Dr. Grant spoke louder than any fleet. And in the echoes of his voice, the galaxy learned the cost of betrayal and the endurance of humanity. Years passed, and the galaxy that once shook under the thunder of war began to heal. The ruins of the Galactic Union lay scattered across hundreds of systems, but in their place, something new began to form. Not an empire built on power, but a fragile alliance built on remembrance. They called it the Concord of Stars, and at its heart stood the one planet that all had once feared Earth. It was here that alien diplomats now came to learn, to negotiate, and to rebuild what they had once destroyed. The skies above Earth shimmered with the lights of countless ships, no longer warships, but envoys carrying messages of cooperation. Humanity had done what no species in the galaxy had ever achieved. They had turned vengeance into peace. In the Great Hall of Memory, under the marble dome built upon the ruins of the old United Nations building, stood a tall statue of Dr. Elias Grant. His expression was calm, his hand extended in peace, and at the base of the monument were inscribed the words that had shaken the stars. "You killed peace, but peace will return." People from every world came to see it. Even those who once called humans dangerous now stood before it in silence, feeling the weight of history. Admiral Reza Khan, now older and carrying the quiet dignity of a man who had seen too much, stood among them. He watched as a group of alien children looked up at the statue, whispering in their own languages. Their teachers explained who Dr. Grant was, what he believed, and why his death had changed everything. One of the children turned to Khan and asked, "Did he really forgive us?" The Admiral smiled sadly. "He would have," he said. "That was who he was." The galaxy was slowly learning that forgiveness was harder than revenge, but far more powerful. Across the stars, human fleets no longer traveled as warriors, but as protectors, ensuring peace among the systems that had once been divided by arrogance and fear. The Athena now served as a peacekeeper ship, patrolling trade routes, rescuing stranded travelers, and mediating conflicts. Within her AI core, the voice of Elias Grant remained preserved, speaking softly when needed, offering wisdom to guide humanity's future. "They have learned," Athena said one night as she drifted over the blue surface of Earth. "The galaxy listens now, Admiral." Khan nodded, his eyes reflecting the stars. "And do we forgive them?" "Forgiveness," Athena replied, "is not an event. It's a choice we make every day." The Admiral smiled faintly. "Then today we choose it." Meanwhile, Chancellor Voth, the last living member of the old council, lived in quiet exile on a small moon near the Terrene Nebula. He had refused all offers of pardon, all chances to return to power. Instead, he spent his remaining years writing what he called the Chronicle of Regret. In it, He recorded the events leading to the execution of Dr. Grant, the fall of the Union, and the rise of humanity's vengeance. His final entry read, "We believed ourselves gods among stars, yet it was the smallest world that taught us what it meant to be civilized. The humans showed us pain, but through pain, they gave us truth." When news of his death reached Earth, the Concord of Stars sent a message of condolence to his people. It was signed personally by Admiral Khan, who wrote, "Even those who once destroyed peace can become part of it." Across human space, monuments were built not to glorify victory, but to honor remembrance. Every world that had been scarred by the war was marked by a memorial beacon carrying Grant's final message. These beacons emitted a soft light, visible even from orbit, a promise that the darkness of vengeance would never again consume the stars. On one of these worlds, Captain Lara Vance landed the Eidolon for the last time. Her mission was complete. The ship that had once been the ghost of vengeance would now rest as a museum, a silent reminder of what fear had created and what understanding had repaired. Standing before it, she whispered, "Sleep well, old friend. We're done fighting." As she walked away, a soft voice from the ship replied, "Humanity remembers." And indeed, humanity did. The legend of Dr. Elias Grant became more than history. It became philosophy. Schools across the galaxy taught the Grant Doctrine, a set of principles about communication, empathy, and the dangers of pride. Where once the aliens saw humans as fragile creatures of emotion, they now saw them as guides who had walked through fire and returned with wisdom. In time, Earth hosted the first interstellar summit of peace. Leaders from 1,000 worlds stood together under a sky filled with stars. There were no crowns, no armies, no threats, only voices sharing hope. As the ceremony began, Admiral Khan stepped forward to speak. His voice was strong but gentle. "Years ago," he said, "you called us weak because we valued compassion. You executed a man who believed that peace was stronger than any weapon. But when he fell, we learned that peace must be protected, not begged for. Humanity's revenge was never about blood. It was about remembrance. And now, in his name, we offer you what he offered first, peace." The hall erupted in applause, and among the crowd, holographic lights formed the image of Dr. Grant one last time. He smiled, bowed his head, and faded into starlight. The narrator's voice returned, soft yet powerful. From one man's death came a storm that shook the stars. From that storm came silence, and from silence, understanding. The galaxy learned that peace is not given, it is earned. Humanity, once broken and dismissed, became the keeper of that lesson. And as the dawn rose over the worlds once drenched in fear, the name of Earth no longer meant vengeance, it meant hope. And so the legend ended, not in destruction, but in rebirth. The story of Dr. Elias Grant lived on in every corner of the universe, a reminder that even in the darkest void, the light of understanding can still find its way home.